So our topic is biofuels, which is biodiesel and ethanol fuels. So some background information on biofuels. So biofuels are liquid or gaseous fuels produced from biomass. The two main types of biofuels are biodiesel fuel and ethanol fuel. Biodiesel fuel is a renewable, clean-burning diesel replacement made from a mix of feedstocks such as recycled cooking oil and fats. It is created by the separation of these recycled oils, so the molecules are separated to create the oil. The other type of biofuel is ethanol fuel, which is a renewable energy source made by fermenting the sugar and starch components of plant byproducts, which are all types of plants, including corn and wheat and a bunch of different ones. But corn is used the most for ethanol, and many farmers are dedicating all their resources to corn for ethanol production. These two pictures, pretty much the one on the left shows the process of biofuels, how it's a very complex, difficult situation, and the picture on the right shows just a cartoon of how much corn we're using for the production of ethanol.
And now we can talk about how biofuel is actually used. So biofuel can be used in ethanol form as a fuel additive because it helps states comply to the Clean Air Act, which limits the amount of emissions each state can actually have in their air. Ethanol is a good fuel source for to use in spark ignition engines, such as like cars and airplanes. It's used mostly to dilute more harsher gasoline forms for a less polluting outcome when it's burned. Now, how clean does it burn and how polluting is it compared to other fuels? Biofuels are cleaner than most other fuel sources because they are made up of biomass like corn and other plants. This causes them to essentially burn clean. However, we know this isn't true because of all the external costs that come from actually making the ethanol. And so the CO2 burned during the creation of the ethanol returns to the carbon cycle. However, the process is extremely water intensive. So is it really a better solution? So we have pictures here of the life cycle of biofuels. So this is where it ends up in your cars. But you see it starts out as corn and then it goes to transportation, then factories, processing, and then distribution. And then this on the right is a cycle of the carbon that comes from burning ethanol.
Alright guys, so now we're going to talk about how biodiesel and ethanol is transported. So on the side here we have some Cornell notes for you. Feel free to pause it at any time and jot down some notes. So the three primary ways to transport biodiesel and ethanol are by truck, rail car, and barge. Ships are used to transport large amounts of biodiesel between continents. It is first transported by truck or rail car to a blending facility. Here it is mixed with fuel additives and gasoline to create ethanol blends such as E10, which is 10% ethanol, which is the standard gasoline you fill your tank with these days. And biodiesel should not be stored or transported in copper, brass, bronze, lead, zinc, or zinc because these metals will hasten degradation. Instead, biodiesel should be transported in containers of steel and aluminum.
Okay, so are biofuels a viable fuel source for the U.S. in the future? The reasons why they are viable. Biofuels are biodegradable and supposedly add less pollution. For example, cellulose ethanol. About 2/3 of our landfills contain cellulose, so it is viable to use cellulose in our waste as fuel. It's less polluting, it has less toxins than fossil fuels, so it burns clean. The reasons why it's not viable. Biofuel production has a negative impact on food security and adds to the carbon footprint. 40% of U.S. corn feeds cars rather than people. The creation process uses non-renewable resources, fossil fuels. Creating ethanol uses lots of water. The corn has to be cooked or processed at a very high temperature in order to reduce the bacteria before fermentation. And those are the reasons why fossil fuels why biofuels are viable or not viable.